welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate all of my subscribers, my old ones, and then the new ones. If you are new to my channel, you are highly welcome. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe, like my video, and then share my video. Hit on the notification bell just beside to get an update or get notified rather whenever I upload a new video. Today, I'm actually going to be showing you how to cut a reglan off-shoulder blouse. Yeah, you heard it right. A reglan off-shoulder blouse. That's what I'm going to be teaching you how to cut. This was actually requested by one of my subscribers. So, like I normally say, if you have any picture in your phone and that you want me to make an illustration of, you could drop the pictures for me at Stylish Naija on Instagram, or you go to Facebook sewing group, Stylish Naija sewing group on Facebook, Stylish Naija sewing group on Facebook. Drop your pictures or go to Instagram and drop at Stylish Naija. So I'll do well to make an illustration for you, so if you get picked, so to say. So without much talk, so let's just get straight to the point. So I have some couple, I have two pieces of fabric here. This is the back and then this is the front piece. So I folded. I'm going to explain the lines that I already have on it. I'll explain them for you now. So the first thing I have here is this is the bust line. So the first one, this is the bust line. So I'm going to be using these top parts. I'll just use this as my shoulder line. So even though it's an off shoulder, I'm going to be cutting it out though, but I just want to use it as an indication, so to make it easy and clear for you. So this is my shoulder line. This first line is the shoulder line. And then this one is the bust line, which is this point, and then this is the under bust, and then this is my waist line, and then this is my hem line, which is this down part. In folding your fabric for this kind of blouse, you use the bigger part of your measurement. That's the biggest part, which is like the waist. That's the down part, which is like your hip and part. So you measure. For this, I have 40 inches. So you divide 40 into 4 and then you add 5 inches for your allowance. So that gives you 15. So you could fold at 15 or 16. So that's how you fold your fabric. So for that is that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now for this reglan off-shoulder blouse, I'm going to be, then this line that I have here is my bust span measurement, which is 4 inches. That's from one nipple to the other, which is 4 inches. So it varies with individual. So I'm going to put a link of how to take a bustier measurement. I'll drop it on the description box. So that's just it. So that's how I got this 4 inches. It's running from the top to the bottom. So that is that. So this is my under bust, and then this is my waist, and then this is my hem measurement. So the next thing I'm going to do now, we'll start inserting my measurement. In inserting this measurement, the first thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to take out and do out the bustier. So I'll come to this waist point, I'll measure 1 inch here, and then I'll come to this left hand side, I'll measure 1 inch also. This is the 1 inch on the right, and then so I'll come to the top point, which is the shoulder line. I'll take 1 inch to this right hand side, and then I'll come to the left hand side, I'll take out half an inch. So this actually serves as the dart for a bustier. This is like a neck and dart bustier. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be taking this line, I'll connect it to this bust point, and then from this bust point I'll bring it to the waist line. So I'm just going to use my ruler to do that. So I'll just put it like this, and then I'll slant it down to this point, and then from this point I'll slant it to the waistline. I'll do the same to this point. From this point I'll slant it to this point and then bring it back to this side. So I'm just going to do this, and then I'll slant it to this point. So because I don't want to have sharp edges, I'm just going to use my curve to just slant it out, to curve it out a bit, because I don't want them to be sharp. So you can see now it's a little bit curved. So the next thing I'm going to do now, for regular patterns like this, you're supposed to bring it down as in straight, as in come down. You're just going to measure it like this straight to this point. But you can see what I'm putting on, since it's this kind of blouse that does not have a cut, you could see that this part, you see, is tilting towards the side. So in doing this, you don't have to bring it straight, because if you bring it straight, it will be like this. That's just straight. So I'm just going to be tilting it to this center line now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So the essence is for you to have this curve that I have here. So because I don't want it to be sharp, so I'm just going to blend it a little bit like this. I'm just going to blend it a little bit. It's not meant to be sharp. So, and then I'll do the same thing. So I'm just going to freehand it because I really don't want it to be sharp. So you can see what I have. So this now gives out my dart and gives it this perfect shape that I have here. So the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm coming for the armhole point. So for the armhole, first of all, I'll start measuring out my regular measurements first before I go to the armhole. Sorry. So for this, and the shoulder measurement for this is actually 13 inches, which is 6.5. So, and then you remember the 1.5 inch allowance that we took out for the dart, this 1 inch and then this ½ inch. So I'm just going to add it back, 6.5. So that gives me 7.5, and then I'll add 3 inches allowance to it. So the next thing I'll do from this point, I'm just going to measure between 8 and 9 inches as my allowance. So I'll use 8 inches for my armhole. So I'm just going to rule it out now. So I'll use my curve and just curve it out a bit. So the next thing I'm going to do now, do my shoulder slant. Even though I'm not going to be making use of it because it is an off shoulder, but I'm just going to show you how to do this. So I'll use 1 inch from this point, and then I'm slanting it to the neckline point. So I'm just going to place my ruler like this, and then I've slanted it out. So the next thing, since like I said, since this is a Reglan sleeve, I'm going to work on it, but before then, let me just take out my full body measurement. So the next thing I'll do now, measure out the bust measurement, which is 36 inches. So because of this little tiny ½ inch here, I'm going to add it back to it, just like I did with the shoulder line. So 36 divided by 4, you have 9 inches plus this half, that's 9.5, and then I'm going to add between 3 to 3.5 inches allowance. So this is it. I'm going to place it here, and then the next thing I will do is the under bust measurement, which is 30 inches, which is 7.5. So I'll measure what I have here, which is 1 inch. So this dart, and I'm going to be taking out, I'll add it back. So 7.5 plus the 1 inch, that's 8.5. So this is like my 8.5, and then I'll add my allowance also. So from this point, I'm just going to come like this. So for the waist measurement, the waist measurement is 32 inches. So when you divide 32 into 4, you have 8 inches. Remember, we use 1 inch to the side, 1 inch. So that's 2 inches that we're going to be taking out. That's from this point. So 8 inches plus 2 inches, that's 10 inches. So this is like my 10 inches now. And then I'll still add my allowance, like I said, between 3.5 inches allowance. So to be on the safer side. So I'm just going to leave that and then measure the down part. So for the down part, I said I used 10 inches. So this is my 10 inches. And then I'll use the remaining part. So I'm just going to slant it to meet. I'm just going to slant it like this and then like this. So for this down, if you want to have this curve that I have on my blouse, I'm just going to come up by 1 inch. I'll come up. You could use 1.5, you could use 1 inch. So I'm just going to come up by 1 inch, and then I will slant it to this point. That's to the middle point, that's the center front. So I'll just use a curve. If you want it curved, you could just use your curve and then curve it out a bit. So that's that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be working on the Reglan off shoulder sleeve now. So I'm just going to come like this. So my regular armhole is half of my armhole is supposed to be 4.5, which is this point. But since this is this off shoulder Reglan sleeve, I'm not going to. That's what I'm going to be using, the Reglan pattern. Sorry. So I'm not going to be cutting from this point. So I'm just going to take 1.5 inch because I don't want the neckline to be too deep. If you want the neckline to be deep, you could use 2 inches to 2.5. So I'm just going to measure from this point. I'll measure 1.5 inch. That's from the shoulder slant line. This is like my 1.5 inch line. So this is it. And then I'm going to be slanting it to this point straight, just like your regular reglan sleeve. So I'll just slant it to this point like this. It has to be straight. So that is what I have. So that is it. You could make it a little bit curved at the down, it will still be okay. So the next thing I'll do now, I'll be working on the neckline. So this armhole, this normal armhole, we're not going to be making use of it. So this regular part, because the sleeve is coming like this on the off shoulder, the sleeve is coming like this slanted, so that is why it is regular pattern. So that's just the essence of this. So the next thing I'm going to do now for the neckline, it's a sweetheart neck. So I'm going to show you how to do two neckline, round neckline and then the sweetheart neck. So for the sweetheart neck or round neckline, so I'm just going to use 5 inches depth. This is the depth, which is 5 inches, and then I'll use 3 inches, which is normal regular so if it was a round neckline, what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to be connecting from this point. I'm going to do it in 2 ways. I'm just going to be connecting from this point like this. This is what I'm just going to be doing. You could use your curve like this. This is actually what I would have done if it was your regular off shoulder, that's with a round neckline. But since this one is a sweetheart neckline, so from my 5 inch point, I'm just going to come down by 1 inch. The essence of the 1 inch is just for me to make my back slant like this, just to come to this point. So with this now, this gives it that sweetheart curve. So you could use your curve. I have various neckline videos on my channel. I'll drop the link also for you so you could see. So this is now my sweetheart neckline. So I'm just going to use the blue chalk to indicate it for you. So this is my sweetheart neckline. So if I'm cutting like this, if you want it deeper, you could come down more and then you have something like this. If you want a deeper neckline, so you could come down a bit, but if you don't want, you could go up. So that's just basically. So now the next thing, I'm going to cut out the side. I'll cut out the whole shape with the back, then before I cut out the back neckline. So I'm just going to do this. So I hope you understand what I did. So this is the armhole, the new armhole, to give it that straight cut, the off shoulder armhole. So I'll put out the back piece and then cut out the front. So the next thing I'll do now, cut out the bustier point. So you don't have to sharp this point, you don't have to make it to be sharp. So you just take note. So you can see what I have. So I'll show you how to achieve the sleeves also, so you could see. So when you join, so this is where the sleeve is going to be. So this is where the sleeve is going to be. So before then, I'm going to cut out the back neckline for you. So for the sleeve now, I'm just going to use this to cut out the sleeve for you, in order for you to understand the top part of the sleeve, so you know how it fits properly. For the sleeve, you first of all you measure the round armhole. So for this, the round armhole is 14 inches. So when you divide 14 into 2, you have 7 inches. Then plus 1 inch allowance, that's 8 inches. So this is like my 8 inches allowance. This is like my 8 inches. So I'm just going to use that 8 inches, that's plus the allowance for the round armhole. I'm just going to measure it. So then you determine the length of your sleeve. So I'm just going to use 12 inches as the length of my sleeve. So this is my 12 inches mark for the length of my sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now, you measure from this point. Since it's an off shoulder, you measure from this point, that's this half point, to this back point, that's for your sleeve. So you just measure like this. So you measure. So for this, I actually have what I have is actually 10 inches. So when you divide 10 into 2, you have 5 inches. So this is like my 5 inches mark, and then I'll add 1 inch to it as my allowance. So this is 6 inches. So I'm going to be adding from this point. This is the top part of the sleeve. This is the top part of the sleeve, and then this is the folded part of my sleeve. So this is my 6 inches now. That's for the top part of my sleeve. That's the part that will be coming up. Then the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to take, because this is where I'm going to start the measuring from. This point is going to be the point that is open. That was why I measured from this point to this point, because that's the point that will be open for the off shoulder. So I'll just take the sleeve like this. That's the Reglan armhole point, and then I'm going to be placing it here. So I'm going to be placing it here. I'll just turn it like this, and then I'll place it like this to make sure I have the exact measurement of what I have. So I'm just going to place it so that this is my 6 inches mark point, and then I'm just going to create out the straight armhole like this. So I'm just going to create it out so you could see what I have. And then when I get to this point, I'm just going to measure. You know that the down point of the close to the elbow, so you use the close to the elbow, the measurement now, because the bicep part is, like I told you, which was 14. This side is a little bit smaller. So you now use the measurement of this point, which is 12 inches. So this is like my 12 inches. And then I'll just slant it from this point like this to my 12 inches. And then add your allowance to it. So that's your stitching allowance. So this is just like my regular. So I'll cut it out now for you to see. I hope you understand what I did. So I'm just going to explain it again. So the first thing, you measure your bicep. That's this full point. I'm explaining it because I want you to really understand. You measure your round armhole. So from this point to this line, this is my round armhole line. And then from this point is the half of my sleeve. That's where will be open for my off shoulder. So that is why I have 6 inches here, allowance included. And then from this point, I now took the sleeve part, that's this Reglan sleeve part, and then placed it on top, and then just trace it out. So that's that. So I'm going to be cutting it out now. If you want a cup sleeve, you could still decide to do it this way to still work out. If you want a cup sleeve, so it depends on the sleeve that you want. So I'm just going to do it like this. So I'm just going to show you how it will look like at the end of the day. So this is how it will look like. You see what I have. So this will now be, you see the neckline. So this will now be your cap. If you still want it higher, you could decide to make it a little bit higher. So you could just decide to make it like this, and then it will come like this, and then you could decide to blend this point. You could decide to just blend this point like this. You could decide to blend it out. It will still be okay. You could decide to blend it out like this for your, just on the attachment part. So this is it. So if you want to attach ruffles, you could decide to attach ruffles. If you want to do a puff sleeve, whatever sleeve you want to do, so you just follow this pattern and then you do the sleeve. So guys, I have now come to the end of this video. If you like what I did, please don't hesitate to hit on the like button so